Hello, and welcome to the RC Industry Podcast, episode 19. For those of you new to the show, this is the podcast where I interview the most influential people from the worlds of stand-up, comedy, radio, TV, and today, PR. Mel Brown founded Impressive PR about 20 years ago, and originally represented bands like Snow Patrol and Coldplay, and in the last 15 years or so has represented most of the biggest comedians in the UK, if not the world, including Joan Rivers, Jimmy Carr, Russell Brand and Stewart Lee. We've gone her on because I think there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings and myths around what PR is. This was first discussed in Bob Slayer's episode of the podcast, where he had a bit of a rant about middlemen, or in this case middle women, in comedy and the PR industry during the Edinburgh Fringe. I've since had a lot of discussions with performers about PR and about the industry itself, and there's a lot of general misconceptions and myths that come up over and over again. So I had her on to have her own say on it and to maybe debunk some of those myths, and I feel like she tackled pretty much every question head on. Questions like, do PRs just charge £5,000 for a month's worth of work and get pissed for a month during Edinburgh? Which is something I ask her, and you'll get to hear her response to that. I had a really nice time chatting with her. I think it's a great interview, and I think there are some amazing points that she gets to make about how PRs and industry in general look at the Fringe and look at shows and analyse what they're going to go and see. So I think if you're looking at going to the Fringe, as in performing or ever going up to take up a show, you'll get something out of this. If you're not looking at going to a Fringe, it's probably something worth listening to anyway, just so you have a bit more of a background knowledge of what's going on in the mind of someone in the industry. Before I hit play on the interview itself, just a few quick notes for people to be aware of. One, we have a Facebook group. Please join it. We've got loads of discussions going on in there, and I'm constantly sharing, well, not constantly, that'd be blooming annoying, but I'm regularly sharing articles that I find on how to write, how to perform, how to grow as a performer, and also I keep people as up to date as possible in there on new guest confirmations. So if you want to know anything additional that's going on in the podcast, that's the most reactive place to get it. If you would like to join the newsletter to get an alert when each one of these comes out, you can do that on the website. I've just set that up. And there's also a special newsletter for patrons, which we'll get to in about 2 minutes time. If you could share the links with people, it would be really useful. I would say my listens at the moment are 60% from the organic audience itself and 40% from people sharing the links. So it does help, and it is really useful, and I can't thank you enough. So if you have a minute and you think someone could benefit from this podcast, please do pass on the link, either the iTunes, Stitcher or direct web link, so people can stream it off the website. And that would be just amazing. Thank you very much for that ahead of time. If you are enjoying the podcast and you would like to financially support it, please do consider giving me a one-off donation. There is a link on the website. There's a link everywhere on the website to PayPal, and it enables you to give as much or as little as you can afford / want to do. I really enjoy getting sort of PayPal donations, and all the money gets ploughed back into the show. So please don't hesitate to support the show in whichever way you think it is worth. Just put a monetary value on it. Say you think this podcast is worth £2 to you for some reason, and you've listened to 5 episodes, send me a tenner. Simple system at all. If you would like to become a patron of the podcast, I've set up a Patreon page. Now you can find links for that again on the website, or you can go to Patreon, that's patreon.com/RC Industry Podcast. Basically, what Patreon does is you are able to tell Patreon how much in dollars, because it's an American site, you would like to donate to each episode that comes out. At the end of each month, Patreon will say, you said that you would sponsor Simon $5 per episode. He has put out 3 episodes. We're going to ask you to pay him now $15, which I think $5 is about £3.50. So that's what you're looking at per episode. The reason I'm really pushing that is because long term, I would like to start doing live shows. The only way I can really do that is if I can work out budget-wise how much money I have to offer guests to come on and how much money I have to rent rooms and put into to finding the venues. So yeah, it would be really useful if you could sponsor that. I sort of have targets on there. Patreons get an exclusive email to tell them that stuff's coming out and when it's coming out. Also, every Patreon, when I do live shows, will be given the ticket link to every live show ahead of anyone else. Then the next group of people that will be told will be the people in the Facebook group. So if you can't sponsor, do join the Facebook group, because that still gives you the option to become the next potential in the priority order for that. And then after that, it goes out to the general public. Just to give you a sample snippet of the kind of things I'm trying to put on, I have an idea for a panel of reviewers where we're going to have a couple of the hopefully have a couple of the reviewers on that have already been on, plus some new ones from the world of comedy, where you can ask them whatever you want via me, and they'll discuss amongst themselves and answer the question, so you can get a comprehensive answer, and there'll be some really good debates. So I'm hoping to do that for reviewers, comedy commissioners for TV, radio producers, obviously again for comedy, and potentially PR, but I'm sort of debating whether that will work or not. And yeah, so that's my long-term plan. If you're interested in that happening, please do go and become a patron. It's sort of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. If you support the podcast at these early routes, I will support you by sending you the ticket links early on. And if there's something else you would like, say you want to give $50 a podcast, I'm not going to stop you if you can afford to do that. Do let me know what you would like back as a reward, if you want anything as a reward, and I'll totally help you out with that. So that's where I'm at with project-wise. I hope this wasn't too rambly. And without any further delays, this is Mel Brown.
Yeah, and the very first thing that I sit down and, if it's a comedian that is totally green, that haven't got an agent, hasn't got a promoter, most of the time they won't know what a PR is, and I will tell them. I would say that most of my shows do have a promoter and an agent, and they would have made sure that they know what a PR is and what we do.
I've been told, and I don't know if this is true or not. By the way, the reason I've invited you on is because the podcast is me basically interviewing influential people from the worlds of comedy and stand-up and TV and stuff, and your name keeps coming up. And I feel like a lot of the time, some people don't understand what PR is, and so there's a lot of misinformation. So I've invited you on to basically allow you to have your say on it, if that makes sense.
No, that's good.
And I've been told that you don't represent anyone on the Free Fringe.
That's not true. I do, and I am representing somebody on the Free Fringe this year, Stewart Black, who's an amazing comedian, quite dark, aptly named Stewart Black. I do not take more than one or two at the Free Fringe, and they have to be totally exceptional. I just think it's harder if you're on the Free Fringe to get the attention that you need in the main.
As in, you mean like in like press, or do you mean
from a media coverage point of view? I'm specifically looking after media. I think from a public point of view, it's brilliant. I think Free Fringe is essential and really, really good, because obviously it gives the public an opportunity to go in and see comedy and pay very little. Obviously there's buckets at the end of each show, so as a concept I think it's fantastic, but it's a very, very different thing if you're PRing Free Fringe shows, and there's several obstacles as a PR that you come up against, including saving tickets for media. Quite often the shows are full, and the comedian's got other things to worry about than saving seats for press. Shows don't always tend to be running on time, so again that's detrimental for reviewers going in. It's very hard to police, so for me, although we try and get people to book in with us for our Free Fringe shows, it's absolutely easy to do it on a paid venue, but for Free Fringe quite often we'd have sold the act in a very good way and they might just turn up, and we try to go to see the shows with the journalists, so it's very difficult to police. Hence I prefer not to take any Free Fringe shows, but I have for the last 2 years represented Stewart Black on the Free Fringe.
So is it more or less expensive to work with you, or if you're on the Free Fringe? Because we
have a set price, so it's based on venue size. So It's irrelevant whether it's Free Fringe or paid venue. It's still the same job and the same price. If anything, it's harder on the free fringe, but we don't charge more just because it's harder.
Well, no, because it sounded like it was more, not because it's harder, but because it's more hours and more intensive work. It makes sense that you would charge different amounts.
No, I think the fairest way is to do it based on venue size, and it's just across the board set rate. Okay. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what do you because a lot of comedians are going solo, as it were, at the moment, and they're sort of doing their own PR, their own coverage, their own management, everything really.
There's not many that are doing that. I mean, examples from your side, there's a handful of comedians that are kind of doing well that don't have any representation from agents to PRs. I don't think there's very many.
Okay.
There's a lot on the free fringe that aren't at the level that they have got an agent that are doing everything themselves. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So do you think there are too many middle people in comedy, or?
I think there's room for everybody as long as you're good. You know, we look after brand newcomers that have never done the fringe before, some of which have agents, some of which don't have agents. Mainly they are all in the paid venues. And then we take, household names and established comedians that are on TV all the time. And then there's the middle people that aren't newcomers, but they're also not the established. But they're like the people that could be household names in 2 years' time. So every act is different. I take on comedians that I love and I think are funny, and that's the only rule I go by.
So when someone approaches you to represent them in PR, like what's the process for that? So say I came to you and said, I'd love you to do my PR. Do I invite you to a show? Yes.
Normally, if you're a British comedian, then we would come and see you. That's the first thing. I mean, we start looking at new clients straight after the festival the year before.
You mean UK based? Just
if you're UK based, if you're a UK based comedian, then absolutely we would then come and see new comedy from straight after the festival the year before for the following year. Normally we start actively going from November, and by the end of February we're full up.
What's full up for you? What's like your?
We can only take so many comedians. Normally we have a roster, bearing in mind there's 7 of us at the festival. It's usually about 15 stand-ups, right. But we normally take more than that to the festival as far as different types of comedy shows, cabaret shows, theatre. We don't just do comedy.
Okay.
But the festival is comedy biased, so our roster is comedy slanted.
Yeah, of course. When I spoke to Neil McKennon, he's the head of media at the Edinburgh Fringe, he said that when you're looking for a PR person, you should find someone who specialises in the genre you deal with, because that it's such a specific thing to deal with, that if you found someone that did theatre and comedy and drama and whatever, they'd have to either have individual people in-house that are specialised in that field, or have a way.
I disagree with that, because we're an entertainment PR company, so we look after within my company all year round music, theatre, comedy, and comedy on TV, and celebrities and events within entertainment. So, we are entertainment specialist PR company and super established with Edinburgh Festival shows, which we've worked since 1999, was our very first year taking shows to Edinburgh. Obviously, our roster is more comedy biased in Edinburgh because, as I said before, it's a comedy biased festival. So our roster's reflected that. We only take on shows that we really want to do, really want to look after. And that's as simple as that.
So you'd come see the show. You'd then sit down with the client, or you'd say, like, if you wanted to, you'd email them and just say no, or you'd sit down with them and say, either way, we don't think this is right for us.
After the show, I would, if I've loved it, I would say, that if I have time, that's amazing. Let's sit down and have a chat. If I don't like it so much, then I've probably kind of disappeared before the end or left straight away, and then I'll drop them an email or give them a call the following day.
Okay. And then like, do you start strategizing from then? Like, how far back do you start planning your fringe, as it were?
I start planning my fringe very far in advance. My press releases are written during March and the start of April.
Okay.
For example, today, which we're recording, is the 20th of April. Yep. All our press releases are written, approved. And we're starting work now. And
so you're sending them off to journalists now?
Yeah, imminently.
Okay. I'm not trying to breach
imminently,
any contract
yes.
stuff. Yeah. Okay. So you take on roughly 15 shows?
Around about 15 stand-ups. Mm-hmm. We've got 15 stand-ups this year.
Okay.
Then we've got a couple of character comedians. And we've got one musical comedian. And then the rest of our shows are cabaret or music or dance or theatre. And
what's your sort of... So let's just do comedy for now then. Your comedy, what would like a show cost me, for example, to get you to do my PR?
Well, I don't really want to talk about fees on this podcast, but if anybody wants to contact me, absolutely, but it's set rate according to your venue size.
Okay.
We have a set rate that starts the lowest, which is below 100 seater, and it's a sliding scale going upwards.
Okay. So is it a case of, from your end, like performers should look at PR as kind of their marketing budget for the whole Fringe, or do you think they should put effort into flyering or doing other things to help advance their show?
Well, as a PR, we don't get involved in the promotion. The promotion is done by a promoter, or sometimes, quite often, that they might not be able to afford a promoter and a PR. But I would say 95% of our shows do have promoters. So the promoter would take care of the poster, the leafleting, the adverts, anything over and above what we do. Our job is to contact the media direct. We have those relationships with the media and therefore get excellent coverage.
So PR is, or your job in PR is specifically contacting journalists for news and reviews?
News, reviews, previews, features, interviews on TV, on radio, podcasts, online content. What we don't do is, as I said, a promoter's job, which is the leafleting, street team, poster, etc., advertising. We don't get involved in that side of things.
So a lot of what an agent or a performer would be paying for with your time is your connections with these publications.
100%. That's what they're paying for, us being proactive in seeking out coverage for their shows with our strong contacts we've built over years and years and years. I mean, I've been doing actual PR since 1988. Right. So that's a long time to have strong contacts. And as I said, comedy PR since 1999 and Edinburgh Festival shows since 1999 as well.
Okay. So, I mean, when I spoke to Copstick, what's that for?
No, I love Copstick. She's amazing.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of hers. She was amazing to talk to, and she said that when she first was going to the Fringe, it was very much, sort of an us and them with the paid to the free, and like a lot of people, the sort of free Fringe was sort of the spring away to the paid, and lots of people kind of tried to build their own audience through basically having a good show. And then she said it became like a case of money talks and then money shouts. And now if you don't have money to a certain degree, you don't kind of get the coverage that you maybe need.
I think from my point of view, PR and money does not equate at all, because it's about the show. And if you've got a good PR, if they can sell the show, if they're experienced publicists, they know how to sell the show and the angle. That you can't buy other than paying for a good PR in the first place. I think what you're talking about is if you've got a promoter that is willing to put in money, then therefore they can pay more to have more posters up, to have a bigger street team. That's not our job. That's totally separate job. So maybe that's where Copstick was coming from on that.
Possibly, yeah.
Definitely not from a PR point of view, because our job is based on relationships and selling the shows on a one-on-one basis.
It feels like there's a bit of a blurred line in general with performers who aren't as industry savvy to know the difference between a promoter.
I think you're right. I think there's a massive... comedians that may be a bit greener to the business don't know the difference between a PR and a promoter. We're totally covering different remits, and as I said, we do represent shows that don't have promoters.
And it sounds like from your end, it doesn't benefit you to take on a show that you don't want to maybe see 5 or 6 times throughout the Fringe, because you'll have to keep going back and telling people to come see it with me.
We only want to represent people that we love. It's absolutely pointless. What's the point in taking a show on that you don't believe in and you therefore can't sell? And yes, we do end up seeing the show multiple times during the festival as a team. Personally, I normally see most of my shows at 3 to 6 times, maybe some more, and I've also would have gone to see it a couple of times at least from the time that we've taken the show on before the festival. So you have to take on people you believe in. We had last year we had the winner of the Newcomer Award and another nominee, and every year since '99 we've actually had over 27 nominees for the Edinburgh Comedy Awards, which is a high success rate. Was that
did your PR help them get to that sort of, did it get to the level of coverage so that they would get noticed for that, or was it a case of...
I think they have to have talent first and foremost. I think first of all it's us spotting the talent and taking on good clients, and then of course we can get a buzz going on our clients, and that absolutely does help.
No, definitely. And I mean, because the thing is, when I talk to people about PRs, a lot of the time they're and all due respect, their opinions of it is, they just get paid 10 grand to go to Edinburgh, drink every night, chat to press, chat in the
Who?
Well, I don't know. I
mean, I have to tell you, my day in Edinburgh is as follows. I'm up before the rest of my team. I'm looking through the papers. By 8:45 in the morning, all my clients would have received a text from me telling them what's in the papers that day. And my day and most of my team's day might not finish till 4 in the morning. So it is a full-time job, 7 days a week in Edinburgh, and also approaching Edinburgh. It's full on. Put it this way, we should get paid a lot more. I mean, outside of the festival, the amount that we charge for each client, we would expect a monthly fee of that sum. So actually, PRs do not get paid enough, in my opinion, for doing the Edinburgh Fringe.
Is it a case of a labour of love then, or is it a case of you enjoy the atmosphere and the success of making a performer that much coverage that it helps you with other work throughout the rest of the year?
I think it's all of the above. Obviously, we want to do well for all of our clients, but our payback, I guess, is getting the touring work, the DVD work, London runs, etc.
So you deal with that as well?
Absolutely.
So if say, for example, you took on a show, let's say you took on mine, just for argument's sake. You haven't, by the way, just to clarify that. But
I didn't realise you were a performer.
I am, I'm a comedian, but we can talk about that. Say you took on my show, and you've seen it, you like it, you're taking it on. Do you have a meeting with them at maybe this stage, so March, April time?
Before that.
Okay.
Before then.
And you say, and they say, I would love to take this.
I'll give you some kind of idea.
Right.
My first show I took on for this year, I took on in September.
Right. So you've been working through for that kind of thing?
I don't know. I committed to the act, and it's a newcomer for this year, and I really believe in her. She's called Sarah Callahan.
I know her.
I just saw her do 40 minutes at last year's festival on the Free Fringe. Fell in love with her comedy, and luckily enough, the management wanted me to represent her, so I was committed to her then for this year. So I don't know whether that answers your question, actually. But anyway, I can't remember what the question was.
I feel like it's answered other stuff, so it's fine.
Okay.
Does that mean that they approached you or you approached them? Because I assume if you see something you really like...
I got tipped off about her. She happened to have the same management as one of my other comedians. I then went to see a 40-minute show, and I loved her and said, look, I have to work her. I know exactly what to do with her. I think she's hilarious. I get tipped off from all sorts of, people. I work with, pretty much every promoter. And for the first year, this year, we're working with both Avalon and Off the Curb, which is quite unheard of because they use their own people. Avalon have it in-house, and, Off the Curb have had their certain people. So we literally got a full spectrum of clients. The one thing that we don't do is put our eggs in one basket and just work all of one promoter's, acts. We have to believe in the acts. And if there was a promoter that, you know, wanted us to work all the acts and I didn't believe in one of them, I would actually say, I just don't think I can sell this. And I have said that quite a few times in the past.
It makes sense to, you know, do what you believe in. And I remember I watched an interview with you in preparation for this, where you said that the main tools or main requirements of a good PR is communication or being organised. And I can't remember what the third one was. That's really bad. But it just struck me that it seems like from that description, up to a certain level of comedian, they shouldn't be approaching PRs anyway.
You should not be taking on PR if you're doing 40 minutes or less on the Fringe.
Okay.
Full stop.
Right. Is it a case of if you're
and
not doing...
Sorry, just to add to that, you shouldn't even be doing your debut hour unless you're 110% ready.
Right.
No point. You have to be ready.
Right. Is it a case of, from a PR perspective, you look at the Fringe as a road show, like an industry road show, or do you look at it?
No, it's a massive launching pad for the act if you're ready. If the act is ready, you know, the one thing I will say is most shows are not ready when you go and see them with a view to taking them on. Like, if, you know, I have regular repeat clients, and you don't know if you hope they're gonna deliver an amazing show, but you've committed to the client because you believe in them already. There's always that leap of faith you have to take, and the same goes when you're taking on somebody new and you've seen them just do 20 minutes. You have to take that leap of faith that they're going to be 100% ready for the festival. Sometimes they're not, but usually we're right.
And is it
sometimes we get one turd.
Is it a case of like you are sort of the gatekeeper to this company? So if someone in here really loved like a comedian or a performer and they said, can you go and see it, and you said you didn't like it, but you knew that
if somebody was jumping up and down super passionate about an act, then I'd absolutely take a view. If they were really, really passionate about it, then we'd take them on. Okay.
And so it's not like it's not a democracy in here. It's a kind of a group decision.
I tend to lead the way on the comedy side for sure, because I've been doing it a lot longer than most of the team, and I'm very much embedded in that. Plus, I'm extremely hands-on with the pitches, so I'm at the hard point of the selling myself. So
totally, yeah.
I would say. Well, I can honestly say that that's never happened actually, in the whole time that I've had impressive PR, that somebody has brought me a client and then I haven't loved it, or to be honest, most of the time I bring in the clients.
Fair enough.
So it's, there are exceptions to the rules, but normally 99.9% of the time it's me. So
when a performer's trying to pick a PR, should they pick someone who has a similar roster of acts because I can see what you've done for them and I think, oh, you can definitely do something for me? Or should I look for a PR who has different acts and like an eclectic mix, because that way there's no conflict of interest?
God, that's a really good question. I think you need to pick the best, and that's us.
But what if you didn't like my show? That's the thing.
Then you have to opt for go to somewhere else.
But I mean, that's my thing. I'm trying to work out as a performer, and
as a performer, I think our work, I'm talking for me and my company, speaks for itself, because we have had 27 nominees or winners of the Edinburgh Comedy Awards since the year 2000, which was our first win. So yeah, I think that my work and my company's work speaks for itself. I think if you get on with the person, obviously if I like the show, the next step is to take a meeting, and if you as the performer like what I'm saying and we get on well, that's kind of important. Then you have to take a view from that point.
No, totally. I just wanted to know whether, because I mean, obviously you pick a quite eclectic mix of different.
Yeah, we do,
genres.
And I think that's for me really important. I do look at. I have a cut-off point for the amount of newcomers I take. Same with the middle ground. Same with the big guns. And then I like having the eclectic mix of other shows, like some cabaret, as I said, theatre. other things. You know, we're representing a totally unique show this year called Puddle's Pity Party that's coming over from America, that's currently doing the rounds in Australia, getting glowing reviews. And he's a clown that doesn't speak but sings beautifully. And, you know, in the past we've been known for taking oddities, I suppose. We look after Red Bastard, and we also look after the boy with tape on his face. So still very much those two acts in the comedy section, but not your straight stand-up.
Do you find that it's easier to sell an act that is kind of I'm going to use your word oddity, just because I've done a bit of journalism work before, and I've worked in PR companies on and off for that have social wings. I do social media for my day job. So I'm aware that when it comes to selling a story, when you've got an angle like that, it can be more useful. But do you find in Edinburgh, like, that's even more helpful? Because obviously there's so many different...
Absolutely, of course. You have to use all the angles you have, if you know, with obviously the approval of the client, to be able to sell the act, because you want your act to stand out from all the other acts. There's thousands of acts up there at the festival.
Okay. And in terms of, say there are, obviously there are loads of comedians out there who do not have the money to hire a PR, and also maybe aren't at the level to do it yet. I mean, what advice would you say is...
I say do the free fringe, less than 40 minutes, and until you can get an agent or a promoter, or you're ready to have a PR and you can afford it. Okay.
And why not the paid fringe?
Because the paid fringe, it's going to cost you money. So if you haven't got money for PR, then how can you afford to do the paid fringe?
Well, no, because there are advantages. There's sort of Bob's bookshop, so the kind of pay what you want model that's kind of in between.
That's an in between, and that's a potentially good option. But if you're doing that and you're doing a whole hour, you need a publicist.
Okay. What's the difference between like the 40 minutes to the hour that means you need the publicist?
Well, if you're a newcomer and you do less than 40 minutes or less, you're not considered for the award. So you're still, when you do your hour or 50 minutes, you're still eligible for the newcomer award, and therefore are a fringe newcomer.
Okay.
It means a massive difference from a PR perspective.
Okay, so it's a case of knowing that A, you only get one shot at that newcomer award, and B, knowing that from an industry point of view, the industry are going to be looking at you a lot differently if you're doing more than 40 minutes.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. But of course, everyone wants a bit of coverage for their show at some point, because I don't think necessarily do you think a show, maybe even a free fringe show, could subsist on flyering and posters alone?
Yes, I do. If it's a free fringe show under 40 minutes, that's how you will get people in. And the fact that people do go to the free fringe because they don't have to pay very much, they tend to take a punt more, don't they? So, I think if you're a young comedian that you're developing your skill, best thing to do is go to the free fringe and do a split hour.
What about other types of performers? If you had like a show but you can't afford to do a PR?
It depends on the show. If you're absolutely incredible and you're ready for PR, then you need to be able to afford to hire PR. If not, then just go below the radar and just, keep practicing until you are ready, and do then have the funds. I think one thing that's really important to say is, like, if you are in a paid venue, and obviously all the paid venues do have a PR department, those PRs are not PRs in the traditional sense of PRs. They are more admin people they're not proactively selling your show because they simply don't have time to do that. So that's why independent PRs are so important in the Edinburgh Fringe.
Okay. And in terms of social media, a lot of performers turn to that to kind of build relationships with journalists and reviewers, and as well as PRs. Do you think it's possible for performers to build their own kind of network of support, and so they maybe could put off having PR for a little bit longer? Or do you think
you can do that from a punter point of view, but I don't suggest that individual acts contact journalists, because they will get really pissed off.
Okay, as in for reviews or as in for news stories?
In general, I think if you haven't got the contact and they're getting bombarded, they're more likely to pick up the phone or look at an email that's sent by a trusted source, i.e. established PR people that know these people, that speak to them day in, day out, that, you know, talk to them like face to face, and, you know, just have that knowledge about them, what they would like, what would sell. Quite, you know, sometimes you will get your news story printed if it's so outrageous and it's like so sellable, but most of the time acts just sending a press release out, that's gonna just not get you anywhere.
No, of course. But I mean, if you say, for example, you'd contacted the reviewer, let's say Copstick, because I mean, when I met up with her,
Copstick's an enigma.
Yes, she made it very clear that she would be absolutely fine to have stuff sent to her.
She's definitely one off, and I know she said that vocally before many occasions. She doesn't mind being contacted direct, but I would say she is the only one.
Okay. Do you think that's because of her allegiance to the Free Fringe? And
I think that she's a maverick, and that's the way she rolls, and I love her for it. Okay.
And in terms of, I mean, like, I'm just trying to think how to phrase it. So, you probably won't be able. I'll ask it. You can say no. I was going to say, like, are there specific journalists? Maybe you don't want to name them, but are there specific journalists who have said, you know, I will listen to your recommendation, but I won't. Because I know who you are and I know your style of like. I
think I would say that in general, this is a sweeping statement, that journalists will take the established PR's calls and meetings because they trust that every year they've had a lot of success with their acts. So it's the track record. So you do have a trusted ear if you've had a great track record in the past. So yeah, you've absolutely.
So would it be, I mean, I don't know if this is too far of a statement, but would it be fair to say that every year you're essentially putting your company on the line?
Absolutely. You're only as good as your last Edinburgh.
That's interesting that you put it that way, because that's the way most performers put it as well. So it's kind of...
you know, we've been continually successful, and as I said, our success and our client success speaks volumes.
So, I mean, most performers go up and, like, especially Free Fringe ones, and just go, you know, I just really want to get a review. I just really want to get some sort of quote for you know, their own gigging around the circuit and stuff. I mean, it sounds like that is... And, I mean, I went to the Edinburgh Fringe Roadshow at the weekend, and most of the reviewers were like, you know, even if you get us in, we can't necessarily write a review for you because we just have a limited space in the...
Exactly.
Yeah. So... I mean, is there a way of, or I mean, is it because you guys have these connections that it makes it like? Are we? I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, but I'm essentially asking, when we pay for a PR, should we look at it as an investment in we really need a quote and it's like a leg up, but not a guarantee? Because
there are one thing I will also say: there are no guarantees in PR. We can put in all the work until the cows come home, but if something doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. Saying that, we've always got good coverage for all our clients and some level of, you know, good coverage and a selection of reviews.
So when you say good coverage, do you have like a minimum amount of like...
No, you can't. No PR worth their weight can guarantee anything, but you have to look at track record, and for us that speaks volumes. Any PR that guarantees coverage is a shit PR.
Are there any other tips you can give us for looking out for PRs that are not necessarily...
You have to take on somebody that you feel that passionately believes in you as an artist. Otherwise, it's pointless.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose you've never had this problem because there are so many people out there doing shows. Statistically, you'd be able to find 15.
We turn down a lot of shows every year.
Are the primary reason for turning it down the fact that...
because we limit the amount of shows and because we haven't been blown away by what we've seen.
Okay. And is it a case of you literally think, because of the way that the Fringe is set up and because of the way the industry's set up, anything less than 40 minutes, don't touch PR?
I would never, ever take a show on that's 40 minutes or less.
Okay, because I know Freestival quite well, and I'm with them this year, and they are doing a lot to try and promote half an hour or 20 minute or 40 minutes. I think
they're on a loss leader.
Okay.
For getting coverage, if that's what they're trying to do on those shows. It's a different thing if you're promoting to PR, like as if you're leafleting, you know, people, the public would probably quite like to see 3 different comedians doing 20 minutes each, but you know, at the end of the day, the media, they have to have a cut-off point to what they cover because there's so many shows out there. So the way that Edinburgh is set up, it's set up for awards that is based on hour-long shows. So therefore, the hour-long shows are the shows that the media are interested in.
Do you think there are too many awards?
No.
Do you think there should be more?
I think it's just about right now.
In terms of the festival thing, I think from what they've mentioned to us as the acts on their thing, it seems like they're trying to go for a more profitable free show and a more doable length of time for more performers, rather than people booking hour slots, which is what's been the tradition.
I think that's great if they're trying something new, but don't expect media to go and see it. I think it's a great training ground for comedians.
Okay.
To do have 3 in an hour, 20 minutes.
Okay. And I mean, there was a lot of talk at the end of last year's Fringe where there were acts at some of the big four who had sold out like half the run or 3/4 of the run and had still gone home making a loss.
Yeah. And that's a lot down to the promoter, what kind of deal they managed to do with the venue. That is quite standard. Don't go to Edinburgh to make money. Use it as a platform to go to do other things. Okay,
that's cool. Out of interest, how would you describe your role in maybe a sentence?
Well, I'm a publicist. I contact media on the act's behalf and try and get coverage in order to sell tickets.
Okay, so your end result with everything is trying to sell tickets?
For Edinburgh, what you want to do is raise their profile in order to sell tickets, and also raising their profile for a greater good. They might want quotes because they're then going off on tour. They might, be trying to get on TV. Everybody's different, but obviously they want to get quotes with their name in it. And also have their profile risen. For me, it's not just about reviews and little news stories. It's for certain acts, big features or newcomers, newbie features. So, we're targeting all media across the board to try and achieve that for our clients.
Do you have any recommended books or reading that people can do to kind of learn a bit more about PR?
I'd say listen to this podcast.
If I'm a performer doing under 40 minutes, and I'm not, by the way, but if I was doing under 40 minutes, and I'm not going to approach PR, but I would like to get a review in, or I would like to get some sort of coverage, what would you say is a good tip or a good bit of advice for someone?
I don't think you should be reviewed until you're ready. So I'd stay away from media until you're 100% ready. But what if you have a really good 40 minutes and you think you're ready for that? Use it to get an agent in. Invite agents. Don't let the media know about you at this stage.
So in your head, there's or in media head in general, there's a progression ladder from, okay, so you've got 40 minutes, you want to get the agents involved.
Yeah.
And then when you've got the agents involved, you spend the rest of the next year getting to the hour.
Yes.
And then from that, you get reviewers in.
Yes.
And then what's the thing after that?
You keep going, but you keep on coming back year after year, or you might be lucky enough to get your own TV show. One of our clients is still coming back this year, but he has his own sitcom, Dane Baptiste, who got a newcomer nomination last year. So, he's still coming back to the Fringe. What if your aim as a performer isn't TV or radio? It's to do more. To do stand up. Yeah, you just keep working on your stand up and come back and do an even better hour the year after. That was Mel Brown. I had so much fun talking to her. I genuinely feel like she very professionally and very vibrantly answered every single thing I could possibly throw at her. And I really respect her, and I really feel like she is someone who, regardless of your opinions on PR, is trying to do a good job and trying to develop the careers of people that she really believes in. So I had a lot of fun learning about PR. I've worked in PR agencies before, and I still don't understand it, but I really respected the fact that she came on and I was able to ask her quite blunt questions, and quite openly she was able to tell me what she does and how she does it, and give us such an insight into how the mind of a PR person works. So thank you very much for coming on, Mel, if you're listening, and thank you very much for listening if you are not Mel. So if you think this podcast could benefit someone else, please do share a link. It would really help me out because it helps with download numbers, and when guests ask how many people have downloaded the episodes,
I really like being able to tell them there is X number of downloads that are happening on these episodes, and it sort of encourages them to come on as well. If you have a minute as well, I forgot to mention this at the start, iTunes reviews would be great. Feel free to leave who you would like me to bring on in iTunes. If you don't want to leave it there, just email me. My email address is all over the website. Once again, join the Facebook group, join the newsletter. There's one-off donation options via PayPal on the website, and Patreon again is available if you would like to support the podcast. Don't go mad with it, by the way. If you can't afford to give $10 a podcast, don't. If you can afford $2 a podcast, which means I end up with about £1 after conversion rates and the site's taken their cut, please do that, because if 100 of you or 200 of you give $2 a podcast, it really helps. Like, it's not a case of I need large sums of money from people. This can work at batch lots of little amounts. So if you can afford $2, $3, $4, $5 a podcast, please do take a minute, go to Patreon. If you want a reward, do email me, and if I can provide it, I will. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for supporting, and I'll see you in about a week, maybe 10 days' time. Bye.